Yeah, nobody that you would think would influence me. The first one was a fellow unknown, but the second one you know as Gene Autry.
Oh, okay.
And I started out as a country singer and a bluegrass player and as blues harmonica. Okay. Then I was influenced and worshipped a fellow named Art Tatum.
Oh, yes, Mr.
Ahead of that was another one, was Earl Hines with Coleman Hawkins. And there was Chewberry, Ben Webster, Dizzy Gillespie. I was there the night that he came to New York and pulled his horn out, and Roy Eldridge was playing, and the battle was on. I was there with Coleman Hawkins when he came to America with the war and left France. We picked him up down at the dock and brought him uptown. And the person that influenced me so much, Coleman Hawkins, there were 5 tenor men waiting for him. And you hear, this is the wonderful part, is the click of those cases. Everybody reached for their horn. And this is after Coleman drew, after he reached for it. He reached for it. And he started out, and he played about 7 choruses of Body and Soul. And it was at that time that I heard all those cases closed. And they didn't even try at that time with the Ben Webster and Don Bias and all the great. Okay, so my influence is so much in the country field, which goes for Ma Bell, not Ma Bell, for the Carter family, the Sons of the Pioneers, whatever it was back there in country. And then I got over into jazz with Earl Hines and Erskine Hawkins and all the jazz world. And then there was another world that influenced me, and that was Bing Crosby and commercial. The Sinatras, the Crosbys, the Ella Fitzgerald, and things that were, there were different types to make a living. And then I was influenced very much by, of all things, Lenny Bruce, Lord Buckley. And although I was straight as hell and never went to the raunchy route, I admired their work and worked with, like in 31, the person I admired so much was Jackie Gleason. And there were just so many people, Eddie Lang, Joe Venuti, and then of course Django Reinhardt was just, and I know I'm leaving out, probably one of the most finest musicians that we're going to hear in this world is Benny Goodman. He's an excellent player, and he surrounded himself with Lionel Hamptons and all the great, Teddy Wilson, all the great players. So I was influenced by just about everybody on earth, and probably a lot, like I say, you wouldn't even think that I would be influenced by.
During the 30s and the 40s, there were a series of guitar performers, like of course Charlie Christian, yourself, like you said, Eddie Lang, and also Slim Gaylor.
Oh, wasn't he good? Oh my goodness. Slim Gaylor and Slam Stewart, they're terribly good friends of mine. In fact, I got a Christmas card on the day that Slam died. And it's the day he died is the day he mailed the card to me. And I used to stay at his home in Maine. And Slim was a great guitar player, and he had real good rhythm.
Yeah.
And it's like Nat Cole. I won't forget Nat Cole ever because of the Jazz at the Philharmonic. And yet I was with Bing Crosby, and I was in the commercial square world. And even here at the club, I constantly keep one foot on bass, with the reasoning that this place is full of people, but they're from China, from Russia, from Australia. They're probably a guitar player right down the street. There's a Keith Richards, there's Eric Clapton, and Segovia. If he were alive, he may be in here. and you have such a wide variety of people. There was a Chinese lady in here, and I have to communicate with her. And over 85 years, I've learned that if I'm speaking to you and I say one, and I've got one finger and there's a body language there, and it's the second time that it happened, I don't just go out and say 1, 2 that way. It's just part of your training. And you do the same thing in music. Okay? Charlie Christian he could play, he drove that beat so hard that he could play one note and I just would play 25, and my 25 meant nothing. Right? And another person, again, Freddie Green with Count Basie. Oh my goodness. When I hear them today on the radio, I just stop whatever I'm doing and I listen, and I've heard the thing a million times.
You know, a lady, I always like to give respect to the ladies. Mary Osborne.
Oh yeah. She was great. I saw her the last time in Dayton, Ohio. I come out of my surgery in Cleveland, and on the way home, I stopped in Dayton, Ohio, and sat in and jammed. and Mary came up and said hi, yeah. And then she moved to California and passed on. She was a good friend. In fact, she and I started at NBC way back in the 30s. Yeah. Why do you remember her?
Oh, because of Mary Louise all-girl group she had
Yeah.
at the Marjorie Hines. I mean, to me, that was like, listening to that band, I was like, they kind of put some of the guys to shame, because it was all women, I think, like, on it, you know? And say, for instance, like, even the all-female orchestra, Sweethearts of Rhythm, Leanna Hine, Ina Hutton, she had a band, they were all-female groups then.
You mean Ina Hutton?
Ina
Hutton, oh, yeah, sure,
Yeah.
her all-girl band.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, sure. I remember them very well. But they were more in a commercial world. Then another one, too, that I couldn't begin to mention. But when in 1929, 1930, I would play over and over, and this is with a wind-up phonograph. I'd sit and I would listen to Duke Ellington's band. And I'd say, my goodness, they really got their act together. And this was Cab Calloway with Drew Barry and that whole thing. I haven't listened to Cab not for the jazz part, which was not that much, because Cab Calloway was like a Fred Waring, who I worked with 5 years. Okay. And there I learned a tremendous amount from sitting with 65 Pennsylvanians and being one of them. I played my little bit and I had nothing to do but analyze, knowingly or unknowingly. And it was very interesting for 5 years to watch a master in the show business, how he handled these musicians, not just their playing, but how they acted and how they dressed. Okay? Everything about show business. The Andrews sisters, I learned so much from the Andrews sisters. All you have to do is be on the stage and watch them stop a show. And you say, well, that's what I want to do. And then I don't sing. I had it right the first time. But anyway, I could go forever just telling you the people I admire. Yeah.
Your electronic influence, different pickups and things that you created, and sound effects and things of that nature.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that?
Sure. I can tell you that I was the first one with a multi-track, the first one the inventor of sound on sound, the reverb, and the multiple 8-track, and the solid body electric guitar. And I'll just tell you one thing that may surprise you, and that is we've been selling that electric guitar for 50 years, and nothing has changed from the time we made the first one. And that is kind of unusual in this business, that you don't have to change something. Right? All we have to do is make sure that that customer is happy with his instrument. I had a guy come to me one time, he was terribly unhappy, and so my brother-in-law said to me, you know, there's a fellow, and he's down at the bottom of the hill here, and he insists he wants to see you because no one has been able to solve the problem. And I said, well, okay, you bring him up. So I said, fella, what's your problem? And he said, no, there's no dot over the I in Gibson. So I got an ice pick, I poked a hole in it, and I put some white out on it, and he was happy. It's a stupid thing, but that's the way it goes. Yeah, I was lucky to invent a lot of things that go with the electric guitar. Gave me a chance to say something at that time no one else could say. Okay. Of course, I don't know if the industry would get along without that guitar or that multi-track machine. And the echo and all the toys, and probably more people, more parents, when the kids are making loud music, cuss me out, right? That's why the parents know me at all, right? It's the damage I'm doing, right?
As we were talking earlier, my thing of being in the business 28 years has been to support the music and create a way where the whole history of the music, past and present, and possibly future, can be showcased by radio, television, things of that nature. There is a program in the working to do just that by highlighting the veteran performers as well as the incoming musicians who are like proteges. Could you speak of the importance of something like that? Could you speak of the importance of something like that?
Oh, I think it's terribly important. And I think you have to make a dish and hand it to the guy because they wouldn't take the time to go search this whole thing out. And so what we have to do is more or less present it to him in a way that he's saying, well, I didn't know that. And, you know, you go through the whole thing. They don't all have the privilege of knowing Louis Armstrong. You know, a funny thing about an influence of somebody, this was 1930, and I was with the Dark Angel of the Violin, Eddie South, who was a tremendous, fine violinist, jazz violinist. And I was assigned the job to play with him at the Regal Theater on the south side of Chicago in 1930. And we went out there and we did our 2 numbers and got our applause and we got off. And then this band come on and I stood at the side and I'm looking at a group of fellows playing jazz. You know? And the fellow missed the last note. The trumpet player missed the last note. Uh-oh. So he went back and he missed it again. So he must have been there 4 or 5 times. He says, I'm going to stay here till I get it. And the audience is cheering him on and getting tenser and tenser, if there is such a word. But while he was doing that, I said to the stagehand, "Who is that guy?" And he said, "I don't go look at the marquee. I don't know who he is." I went out and it said Louis Armstrong. And that was the first time that I saw Louis Armstrong. Didn't know who he was, and I'm working on the same building. And I was taught right there to be not only a good musician, but to be an entertainer and a showman. And Louis and I became friends. I believe his birthday's on the 4th of July because when his mother makes a cake, Louis would come up to the station when I worked in 1934 and bring the cake and we'd eat it together. So my 85 years have been a darn good 85 years. And it's difficult for me to listen to BGO, listen to any of the jazz programs, or pop programs, any kind of music that I didn't say, geez, I was there. It kind of worries me because I used to ask questions, now they ask me questions. That's what happens when you get old.
Yeah, but it's the experience. It's the experience. Because like, say for instance, back then, in comparison to now, the music was very happy. It had a happy feel about it.
Oh, well, I agree with you.
Okay, I want to just get a shot from
Here, I'm sorry.
You doing all right?
Yeah, if you just...
Okay, go.